I opened the door and got out. Werner closed his car door gently. It's a habit that comes with years of surveillance work. This exclusive suburb was mostly villas amid woodland and water, and quiet enough for me to hear the sound of heavy trucks pulling into the border control point at Drewitz to begin the long haul down the Autobahn that went through the Democratic Republic to West Germany. "It'll snow tonight," I predicted. Werner gave no sign of having heard me. "Look at all that wealth," he said, waving an arm and almost losing his balance on the ice that had formed in the gutter. As far as we could see along it, the whole street was like a parking lot, or rather like a car showroom, for the cars were almost without exception glossy, new, and expensive. 5-litre V8 Mercedes with Carphone antennas, and turbo Porsches and big Ferraris and 3 or 4 Rolls-Royces. The registration plate showed how far people will travel to such a lavish party. Businessmen from Hamburg, bankers from Frankfurt, film people from Munich, and well-paid officials from Bonn. Some cars were perched high on the pavement to make room for others to be double-parked alongside them. We passed a couple of cops, who were wandering between the long lines of cars, checking the registration plates and admiring the paintwork. In the driveway, stamping their feet against the cold, were 2 Parkwächter, who would park the cars of guests unfortunate enough to be without a chauffeur. Werner went up the icy slope of the driveway, his arms extended to help him balance. He wobbled like an overfed penguin. Despite all the double-glazed windows closed tight against the cold of a Berlin night, there came from the house the faint syrupy whirl of Johann Strauss, played by a 20-piece orchestra. It was like drowning in a thick strawberry milkshake. A servant opened the door for us, and another took our coats. One of our people was immediately inside, standing next to the butler. He gave no sign of recognition as we entered the flower-bedecked entrance hall. Werner smoothed his silk evening jacket self-consciously and tugged the ends of his bow tie as he caught a glimpse of himself in the gold-framed mirror that covered the wall. Werner's suit was a hand-stitched, custom-made silk one from Berlin's most exclusive tailors, but on Werner's thick-set figure, all suits looked rented. Standing at the foot of the elaborate staircase, there were 2 elderly men in stiff high collars and well-tailored evening suits that made no concessions to modern styling. They were smoking large cigars and talking with their heads close together because of the loudness of the orchestra in the ballroom beyond. One of the men stared at us, but went on talking as if we weren't visible to him. We didn't seem right for such a gathering, but he looked away, no doubt thinking we were 2 heavies hired to protect the silver. Until 1945, the house, or villa as such local mansions are known, had belonged to a man who began his career as a minor official with the Nazi Farmers' Organization, and it was by chance that his department was given the task of deciding which farmers and agricultural workers were so indispensable to the economy that they would be exempt from service with the military forces. But from that time onwards, like other bureaucrats before and since, he was showered with gifts and opportunities and lived in high style, as his house bore witness. For some years after the war, the house was used as transit accommodation for U.S. Army truck drivers. Only recently had it become a family house once more. The panelling, which so obviously dated back to the original 19th century building, had been carefully repaired and reinstated, but now the oak was painted light grey. A huge painting of a soldier on a horse dominated the wall facing the stairs, and on all sides there were carefully arranged displays of fresh flowers. But despite all the careful refurbishing, it was the floor of the entrance hall that attracted the eye. The floor was a complex pattern of black, white, and red marble, and a plain white central disc of newer marble, having replaced a large gold swastika. Werner pushed open a plain door, secreted into the panelling, and I followed him along a bleak corridor designed for the inconspicuous movement of servants. At the end of the passage, there was a pantry. Clean linen cloths were arranged on a shelf. A dozen empty champagne